we have to write each decimal as a fraction. I'm going to show you how to use your calculator. So everybody needs to grab a calculator. Our directions tell us to write the fraction as a decimal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by typing in my numerator. Type the 7 first. And then divide by, the fraction bar means division, 7 divided by 11. What are you getting? The 636363 repeating. So that decimal would be 0.63. And since both the 6 and the 3 are repeating in that pattern, you want the repeating bar above the 6 and the 3. Because it's going to go 63636363. Now, for the second one here, what are you going to type in your calculator first? Yep, 5 divided by 6. Very good. And you're getting, and then the 3 is repeating, right? So for this one, we're going to write this 0.8. Now, since the 3 is the only part that's repeating, we're only going to put the repeating bar above the 3. So make sure you're writing this down. The repeating bar only goes above the 3 because that's the only part that's repeating. And now I'm going to show you, we're going to actually add in an example, a couple examples. Go ahead and write 2 1/8 right here. And write -6 7/9 right here. We're going to do 2 more examples. Because these examples I've found in the past have a tendency to kind of trick people up. When you have a whole number, essentially what's going to happen is this whole number 2 is going to go in place of that 0. So here we had a 0 because we didn't ever have a whole number. But down here, because of this whole number, I'm going to go ahead and write the 2 because my whole number is a 2. Then I'm going to write my decimal point. So I'm writing my 2. I'm writing my decimal point. And then now I'm going to deal with my fraction. And in my calculator, I'm going to type in 1 divided by 8. And do you see how it tells me 0.125? That's because the calculator, did the calculator ever know that that 2 was there? No. So the 2 takes the place of the 0 right here. So instead of 0, we're writing 2 point. And then we're going to write 1, 2, 5 like this. Does that make sense? Okay, question, go ahead. I don't know. Let me see. I think it's going to think it's 21/8. Yeah, don't do that. You can't type the 2 with it. You've got to do it separately because if you type the 2 with it, it's going to think it's 21 divided by 8. Does that make sense? Good question, though. All right, so for this next one, my whole number is a -6. So you're going to write the -6 first. That's your first step. That whole number is not changing at all. Write your -6. And then place your decimal right after the -6. And now the only piece that you type into your calculator is going to be 7 divided by 9. So you're typing the 7 first. Type 7 divided by 9. And what do you think is really happening here? They rounded up, right? So that 7 is just going to keep repeating. So we're just going to write a 7. And then we're going to put the repeating bar above the 7. The only reason that 8 is there is because your calculator rounded. Any questions there? All right, let's jump to our last page. We've got 2 more examples. In example 3, we are going to be using decimals to compare 2 different fractions. You guys are more than welcome to use your calculator, all right? I am assessing your ability to compare these fractions so we can use a calculator. So for this first one here, grab your calculators for me. And for this first one, I want you to type 45 divided by 49. So type that into your calculator, 45 divided by 49. And I'm just going to write 0.91836. I'm not going to write the whole decimal. That decimal, if my computer screen were bigger, it would just keep going on and on forever and ever and ever. Yep, it would. It would never stop. Oh. And then I want you to type into your calculator 27 divided by 32. And I'm getting 0.84375. Which one's bigger? The 45, right? Because this 9/10 is bigger than the 8/10. So we would say 45 out of 49 is bigger than 27 out of 32. So your inequality symbol should always open up to your bigger number. So since this fraction is bigger, we're opening up here. That's just coincidental that they happen to be bigger numbers. Good question, though. Go ahead and do this one on your own. Try this one, and then we'll go over this answer. Do you have the answer or a question? Yeah, I would write like the first 4 or 5 numbers. That should be enough. I want you to type in 5 divided by 22 into your calculator. And I'm getting 0.2272727272. And then I want you to type into your calculator 3 divided by 17. And I'm getting 0.17647. And I'll just stop there because that one doesn't repeat. Which one's bigger, the 0.2 or the 0.1? 0.2. So we could say that 5 out of 22 is greater than 3 out of 17. Go ahead. Not necessarily, because that's a good question though. We only had to go out to the 10th place to compare. We could see right here that the 2 is bigger than the 1. So it didn't matter if I had 4 digits or 5 digits right. We actually only needed the first one. If it were this, yes. If the 2 was the same, see how the 2 is the same in both of them? Then you would ignore the 2 and go out to the 7 and the 5. All right, last example, example 4. This time we are given a decimal, and we have to write that decimal as a fraction. Who could raise their hand and read this decimal to me? A lot of people like to say 0.07. That's the informal way to read that decimal. Who can raise their hand and tell me the formal way to read that? And not 7/10. What place value is the 7 in? Hundredths. Very good. You would read that as 7/100 because the 7 is in the hundredths place. So go ahead and write the 7 out of. If it's hundredths, then we write 7 out of 100. That's it. So you have to make sure you know how to read that. So if you would read that as 700, I'm going to give you a homework in a minute. Just hang tight, okay? Yeah. No, but if there are 2 place values, then that means that there are 2 zeros. If you type 7 divided by 100 on your calculator, look what you get. See how they mean the same thing? All right, so for this next one, you got a question? Yeah, you would just say, you could say 0 and 700, or you could just say 700. Now this next one, we would read this as -11 and 6/10, right? So we have negative 11. So write your whole number, negative 11. Mask up, buddy. Thank you. So you're writing negative 11. And means now we're about to write a fraction. 6/10 would be 6 out of 10. Negative 11 and 6/10. Now this one we can actually simplify. What can 6 and 10 both get divided by? 2. So it's negative 11 and 3/5. Very good. Yep. Go ahead. Yes, very good. You just didn't have the negative on there? Yes, that's a great way to check it. I like it. All right, flip to your 5-1 worksheet. Yep, always simplify. I need you to do 2 and 3, 10, 11, 14. So 5-1 worksheet, 2, 3, 10, 11, 14. There's more. 2, 3, 10, 11, 14. Um, 21, 22, 23, and 24. And then flip to the back. And I'm going to have you guys do number 30. 35 and 36. So 30 is up at the top upper right hand corner. And then 35 and 36. And I want you to get working on that right now.